9 weeks ago, I looked like this at 82 kilos, and now today I look like this at 73.7 kilos. And I know what you're thinking, how can a fitness coach look like that on the left? Trust me, I know. But that first picture was taken a couple of weeks after running a 2:57 marathon, and throughout that period whereby I was focusing on my running, my physique took a back seat, and that's okay because it wasn't my priority. And for a period when you're focusing on other goals, that's completely understandable. I knew I had a certain standard and I wanted to get back to my best. I had Ibiza booked for 9 weeks later, and I thought, what better thing to work towards than get shredded than a trip away in Ibiza? So that's exactly what I did. And in this video, I'm gonna run through exactly the step-by-step process I used to lose 8.3 kilos in 9 weeks and get in the best shape of my life. My training, my nutrition, my cardio, all the changes I made, and how I was able to live my life and socialized and still get in the best shape of my life across a 9-week period. Before I started this 9 weeks ago, I had one thing on my side which most people do not have, and that's data. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've been shredded before. So I know roughly what kind of weight gets me in the best shape of my life and gets me really, really shredded. So last time I got shredded, it was in 2023 to 24. I did a photo shoot. Then I got down to 70 kilos and I looked like this. So I knew, sat at 82 kilos, okay, if a couple of years have passed, I probably need to aim anywhere between 72 and 74 kilos to be at my very best. And from that point, knowing that data and having that collected from doing this over a long period of time, I knew exactly how much I needed to lose over this short period to get where I needed to be. And after that time in 2023 to 24, it took me 6 months. I had to lose 26 kilos of body fat. After that photo shoot back in 23, 24, I promised myself I'd never let myself get back to that position of having to lose body fat over a 6-month period. It was horrendous. It was a slog. I had to make a ton of sacrifices. I didn't drink for a 6-month period to fix that problem of that bulk gone wrong and gaining too much body fat. I knew that when I got to that position of that 70 kilos, I always wanted to stay within 8 to 12 weeks of being away from my very, very best. And I'd never done that aggressive in and out fat loss phase before successfully, but with more knowledge, more education around how to do this and doing it with countless other men, I wanted to test my knowledge and doing it quick in and out, an aggressive job over that 9-week period to see if I could get in the best shape of my life. And I think one of the big misconceptions is when people try to go aggressive with their fat loss is they don't have the foundations in place before they start. They don't have a routine with their sleep, their training, their quality, the intensity they train out, their progressions, the program, and the consistency with that, nutrition, and their ability to actually stick with it from a habit perspective and not snack and have that actual control. And overall, just their routine around work, life, socializing, etc. Everything's just been winged, and it's almost like they're hoping to get there. I knew that I had these foundations in place. I didn't have to go away and fix my digestion, my sleep, my habits, my training, because it was all set in stone. So I could go in straight away, head first from the off, and get stuck into fat loss, and I knew it would move very, very quickly, rather than having to fix all those things first and then visit the fat loss phase. Nutrition, because that is the biggest driving factor when it comes to successful fat loss. My calories started at the beginning of my cut at 2,200 per day. I ate that 7 days a week. And I'd split that up over 4 meals, and the same 4 meals every single day. Oats, whey protein and berries, chicken, rice and veg, 5% beef mince, white potatoes and veg, Greek yogurt, whey, berries and nut butter. 4 meals every single day, 7 days per week. Nothing changed at all. So I'm happy eating the same meals every single day. I've ate those meals for years now. I like them, I enjoy them. They give me no digestive issues. They work well around my life. They're quick, they're easy to make, and I know I can make them taste nice. So it doesn't really feel like a chore. It doesn't really feel like I'm on a diet. That's just what I eat. And because fat loss was my goal, I just had to adjust the quantities in terms of to suit the fat loss, not the actual food itself. Because before I started this fat loss phase and this aggressive diet, I was eating those foods. But just to make sure that I was in that fat loss environment and that deficit, I just adjusted the quantities around. Now, in my experience when working with clients, the guys who actually can just eat the same foods every single day are usually the ones that get the best results, because the chopping and changing and mixing things around never really find some consistency with regards to nutrition, and that always leads to everybody being sloppy and falling off. Next, my output. You don't need cardio to lose body fat. Nutrition will drive that. Being in a calorie deficit will drive that. But when you're pushing aggressively and you have quite a bit of body fat to lose over a short period, in my opinion, you have to start with that cardio. So my cardio started at 150 minutes per week. I did the Stairmaster because I believe it gets your heart rate up as quick as possible into a range of 130 to 140. I'd get my heart rate up as quick as possible at the start, and then I would stabilize the speed and make sure I maintain that heart rate throughout. That's going to make sure your body is utilizing fat for energy as opposed to carbohydrates. The higher the heart rate goes, the quicker the energy your body needs to actually helps you sustain that. So if you want to keep it between that 130 to 140 range, that means it's a slower, steadier state, and your body will be utilizing fat for energy, which is what we want. Now, as for my steps, I did 10,000 steps per day. The steps I did during my Stairmaster didn't count towards my step goal. It was 10,000 of direct steps. Whatever did in the Stairmaster didn't count. I have the time availability to be able to go and do cardio, to be able to go and do a lot of steps. You might not, okay? You might be stuck at a desk all day. You might have other commitments, which means your time is constrained. In that position, you would push a little bit more aggressive when it comes to the calories and just do as much cardio as you can over the week, whereby it doesn't put a lot of stress in your life. But I would always try and find a little bit of time when you actually think about how can I find some more time to do some cardio. Usually you find it. If you start seeing results, you'll start to find a bit more time. But if you're one of those people that have less time, start with your calories a little bit lower. Now, my training didn't change at all. Before I started my cut, I was doing 4 days a week. I would do Monday pull, which is back and biceps, Tuesday push, which is chest, shoulders and triceps, Wednesday rest, Thursday lower body, Friday rest, Saturday upper body, Sunday rest. 4 sessions, 45 minutes to 50 minutes max, and that is it. Nothing changed with my training. And again, as I said at the start, I didn't need to go and learn about the correct form, the correct tempo, the correct accuracy, how to progress. My ability to actually train to failure, that was all set in stone. And when you're pushing aggressively on a diet, weight training is one of the most overlooked areas. Everyone just thinks less calories, more cardio, and forgets about the weight training. They do too aggressive with the diet, that fucks the training up, and they end up losing muscle. If you just forget about your weight training when you are losing body fat, you're just gonna look skinny. Because when you're in a fat loss environment and you're in a calorie deficit, muscle is very, very expensive to the body. It means your body has to work harder. So if it's not being utilized effectively, your body would just pull that from the muscle as opposed to the body fat, because it wants to keep hold of body fat. It doesn't really need muscle, okay? So in order for you to actually look like you go to the gym when you do an aggressive diet, or any diet in a sense, train hard. Train as hard as possible. Progress at all costs, even though it might be a little bit slower, and keep it consistent with the correct form, the correct tempo, and the correct setup of the exercise. And that's gonna make sure you keep hold of as much muscle as possible when you're trying to pull that body fat off. Now, for the changes, in terms of the changes I made with my nutrition, with my cardio across the 9-week period to lose that 8.3 kg and get the best shape of my life. So, usually on a client's journey, I don't like to change anything for the first 2 weeks, and I knew that I didn't have a lot of time to play with, so this was a risky move from me. But from weeks 1 until the end of week 2, I didn't make a single change. I stayed on those same 2,200 calories from 82 kilos down to 80 kilos. So the perfect rate of loss, I was well on track to losing around about that kilo per week, which is exactly what I wanted. Going into week 3, I didn't change anything with my food or my cardio in terms of dropping calories down, but I did change the actual composition of my meal structure. So as I said, for week 1 and 2 and the start of my diet, I was eating the same 2,200 calories every single day. But what was happening was I was not having as much energy in my sessions, and I just found that my body responds better when I operate off a training day and a rest day approach. And that just means you get your weekly total of calories, and I give myself more calories on the days I'm in the gym versus not, because my body needs it more so it can put it to good use to help with the performance, help with the recovery, and give me that energy to actually fuel my sessions. So I had 2,300 calories 4 days a week on the days I was in the gym. On the other 3 days, I had 1,950 on my rest days. So you can see I put more food on the days I'm training versus a rest day, but overall the weekly total of calories has stayed the exact same. Then it came to mid-May. Now my birthday was in May, so I had a lot of social events. I had a lot on, and it was actually back-to-back weekends of me having plans. I had 2 meals out. I had an Indian, I had a pizza. I also had a night out with the boys. It was a very, very long drinking session, like 14, 15 hours on the booze. The week after that, I had a music event, and that again was 10, 11 hours. So from that period, at starting at 80 kilos, by the end of that 2-week period of having social plans, now at this point, we're now 4 or 5 weeks into this journey, I didn't lose much body fat. The average on the scale went down from 80 at the start of that period, only down to 79.7, and which was expected because, you know, drinking, eating out, over consuming calories was always going to slow things down during that period. Now, body weight hasn't shot up, which was good, but at the same time, it meant I had to catch up following this period. But I knew after I got those social events out the window, I could go completely sober, I could cut everything out, and I could push hard for the final stint in terms of the last 5 weeks. So coming off the back of that period of body weight stalling, I was like, right, okay, I need to make a double change here to actually catch up. My cardio went up from 150 minutes per week to 200 minutes, and I dropped my calories down from 2,300 on a training day to 2,000, and on a rest day from 1,950 to 1,750. So quite an aggressive drop across the board. Now, as I said, I came out of that period at 79.7 kilos, and over 2 weeks of those changes, I was then down a further 1.6 kilos. So we almost just caught up in terms of the rate of loss. Then it came into the final 3.5 weeks, and I knew I needed to lose 3 to 4 kilos. So I couldn't wait around, I couldn't beat around the bush in terms of being conservative. I would rather be in a position whereby I'm ready early rather than ready late and have to go and put myself through the floor and drive up fatigue. So from that point in time, I was like, okay, cool, let's push the calories down a little bit more because I can handle it. I'm not stupidly hungry and I don't move on much on a day-to-day basis, so my appetite doesn't drive up. And I'm fine with changing volumes in terms of food sources around to actually help offset any hunger. So I took my calories down from 2,000 on a training day to 1,800, and on a rest day from 1,750 to 1,500. Now these are very, very aggressive calories, but I knew I'd be able to stick to it for 3.5 weeks and my body would respond really, really well. At that point in time, over that final stint of fat loss, by going aggressive and keeping my cardio at 200 minutes, steps at 10,000, I was able to go from 77.3 down to 73.7. So falling within that target of 72, 74 and hitting my goal and getting in the best shape of my life over that 9-week period. It all came together at the back end. The less and less body fat you have, the bigger those changes come through. When you're 90 kilos, 100 kilos, and you lose, the 8.3 kilos I've lost, you're not gonna see much change, you're not gonna look much different. But when you've got less body fat on you as it is, those kilos start to make a dramatic difference in terms of how you look. Probably the easiest fat loss phase I've ever been through because I had all the foundations in place. I knew what to do. I knew I had the discipline. I knew I had the emotional control. I knew what changes to make. I knew I've got the actual headspace to actually get me there and keep on aggressive. I knew I've got the discipline to actually say no to social events, to beers throughout it and make those sacrifices in terms of putting my goals first. So for me, it was really, really easy. And as you can see from my previous shoot to now, I'm around about just shy of 4 kilos heavier, despite focusing on running for the last 18 months. It shows we've built a bit of muscle, which I will take all day. So, can you get shredded in 8 to 9 weeks? The answer is it depends. It depends on your start point. If you are 30, 40 kilos overweight, no, you can't get shredded in 8 to 9 weeks and you should not chase that because if you're trying to go aggressive with that, it's likely going to rebound and it's likely going to take a very, very long time, and being in that restrictive environment can put a lot of stress on your body and actually do more harm than good. And on the opposite of that, it depends on how disciplined you are. Over the 9-week period, I'm a social guy. I like socializing. I like a beer. I like going out for food. I had to say no to a lot of things, but I'm okay with that. Okay, as I said, I drank twice and I ate out twice over 9 weeks. Other than that, everything else was on point. Not little snacks here and there. Everything was on point to the exact gram. And for me, it was easy to make those decisions because 1, I wanted to get back in the best shape of my life, and 2, I had Ibiza at the end of it, and that was more important than having some pointless drinks on the weekend for the sake of it. Now, because I dug to that condition and got super, super lean, single-digit body fat, I'm now able to reverse out of that fat loss phase, eat more calories. I'm eating 2,700 calories per day, stay lean, and be in the perfect environment to actually build muscle because I don't need to then go back to my normal because my new normal was already set in stone before that fat loss phase. Like most people will lose the body fat, pick up all these good habits, and then fuck it off and go back to the normal self. And the body fat will come with that. When you're lean, that is the perfect time to then go away and improve your physique and actually take it to the next level for the next time you cut that body fat down. So do not waste it and throw everything out the window. Think of what you've learned, keep that in place, increase food up, and you'll be able to stay lean, have more social life, socialize more, do more, eat more, and actually keep lean and still progress your physique. Now, you might be sat there after a busy summer, holidays, social events, World Cup, you name it. It's been a lot. It's been intense. And you might be feeling in a bit of a slump, looking at yourself in the mirror thinking, I've gained a bit too much weight here. Now we're approaching winter, which is arguably harder to stick to. There's no holidays, nothing to work towards, there's no point. But I don't want you to go into that same rut like every other year. So that is exactly why I'm launching an 8-week post-summer challenge called Recalibrate. The goal is simple, lose body fat fast, but the right way, not the way you've tried to do it previously and always ended up back at square one. It's built on everything I've done with my clients to achieve countless results over and over again, and with myself. Spaces go live on the 28th of August, and the early bird price is only just £99 for 8 weeks. Links in the description for everything that is included, all the details on you need to know and what you receive inside Recalibrate. If you want to lose body fat quickly after summer, that's exactly the place you should be starting. If you've got any questions, hit up my Instagram. I'll leave that in the description below. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.